First of all, I'd like to say that, as with all of these dialogues, I've learned a lot. The one thing in particular I've learned from this dialogue, from Mrs. Ando and Mrs. Yamamoto, is it's okay to wear a hat. And the green hat's okay too. I was going to do that. The other thing I've learned is that I'm honored and humbled to be involved in all these dialogues. I've had the opportunity to be at all 12 from the very beginning and seen a lot of change. In particular, I've been really honored to watch how honestly and bravely you all come and share your very personal experience with this whole group and with me, so that what I'm trying to do is extract from that what will be useful for the rest of the world, so that we can not go through this same tragedy you've been through, or at least if it happens somewhere else, to be much more smooth about it. And so in that context, you've all been so personal with me. I think I owe you to be a little bit personal with me. So my name is Ted Lazo. I'm 59 years old. I was born in the United States. My roots, as Mrs. Kano asked, my grandfather was from Dubrovnik. He left there in 1902. He moved to Canada. He married a woman who was born in Ireland. My father was born in Canada. He moved to the United States, married an American woman whose parents were both Irish immigrants. So I'm an American mixture, as most people are. Before I moved to France in 1990, I lived in 25 places in the United States. I moved around the country quite a lot. I'm now lucky that I have a nice family. Let's see. Okay. I used to be cute. And I used to have hair. I have a very nice family. My son Eric is now 19. For those of you who are worried about your children spending too much time on computers and not being outside, Eric spent his entire life mostly on his bed with his computer, playing computer games. My daughter is 14. Eric is now at the University of Virginia in the United States studying physics, so I'm proud. We live in Paris. We're extremely lucky. We do a lot of work with our children's school, so I'm the vice president of our PTA. And I like to play the guitar. I have a good time with friends sometimes. And unfortunately, I travel way too much. But my family and I have the opportunity to spend good time together and, as people have said, to think and concentrate on what life is all about and why we're here, what we're doing. I have 2 brothers and a sister and we're still very well connected, although we're in very different places. And my wife, and we're Americans, so we have to have weapons, but we live in France, so we can't have guns. So we have swords. But that's my wife's sister, who also likes swords. She lives in Australia. And I like to play the guitar, as I said. So I've learned a lot about Japan and about Fukushima Prefecture. This is from Suetsugi. I've learned a lot about your ways of discussing things and your strength. And I've learned a lot about your history. All of that, for me, has been extremely enriching, and I can't thank you enough for the opportunity to be here and learn about your struggles and your way of life, and I very much appreciate that. But what I want to talk about is what I've learned today and yesterday. 4.5 long years. Progress could have been faster. It was a little slow sometimes, it seems. External trusted help and support could have promoted faster progress. People have to help each other. But there's been 4 years of experience. Take little steps is what I heard. One thing at a time, up each stair one at a time. Choices must be respected. Be yourself. No one can say you're doing it wrong. The new normal of self-help actions, in other words, garden fruit and vegetable measurements, dose rate tracking, whole body counts, wearing V shuttles, etc., is becoming normal. So what used to be abnormal is now normal. Here's another example of American normality. I apologize for my culture. We have to have data and understanding. Affected people can collect, share, and discuss local data. That's seemingly been a very important idea. Putting data and understanding into people's hands gives them control, although sometimes control can be heavy. But there's a limit to what affected people can do on their own. Sometimes the weight is just too much. Government support, central, regional, local, can be part of the answer through training and resources and expert knowledge. And I think we've discussed that a lot over the past 4 years. Role of outside experts. And according to Dr. Miyazaki, I'm a micro expert. I'm well on the outside, trying to provide information from you to others. Perhaps through discussion now and again, greasing the wheels a little bit, but not very much. So I'm proud to be a micro expert. Trust and acceptance must be earned. We heard that a lot. Experts should become and remain locally connected, addressing the needs and concerns as asked in order to be well accepted. Experts should address questions with responses as simple as possible. Numbers if necessary, but simple in context. There is no average concern. There's been a lot of talk about averaging this and averaging that, but everyone has an individual concern and it needs to be addressed individually. Concerns should be addressed case by case. Community is a term that came up on several occasions and was talked about a lot. And I think there's a lot of different sorts of community. Aspects of community can be a binding force to help people in an affected area to help each other. Listening to one another's concerns and experiences, for example. We talked about the Mother's Cafe. Sometimes listening is hard. Sometimes listening is easy, but in the end it comes out okay, usually. Helping people to voice their concerns is another thing that is part of community. You have to create a place where people can voice their concerns. You have to encourage voices to be spoken because some voices are unspoken. You have to listen, to hear, and to respect all voices. Find your voice and inspire others to find theirs. Stephen Covey, a well-known American author. And there are festivals. This is what I suspect this is a Google festival that I found on the web. And then we have what I would call an American festival. A little different in nature. This is the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, but every culture has its own sort of approach to life. But there are different types of community. In a village, of residents who stayed, of residents who left, of mothers, of fathers. Fathers got a little bit of discussion. Mostly they sit around and drink beer. They don't drink coffee, they drink beer. But in a large city, it's something different. Perhaps community is defined by loyalty to a sports team. Baseball here in Japan or in the United States, or soccer, football as they call it everywhere else in the world but the United States. Or perhaps some people can be devoted to their neighborhoods. Again, imagine Tokyo. What sort of community could you imagine in Tokyo? Here we have a well-known neighborhood in San Francisco and a well-known neighborhood in the Bronx in New York where people are attached to their place. The place is a very important thing. So accidents happen sometimes in rural areas, sometimes elsewhere. If I'm trying to extract experience for the rest of the world, most of the power plants that could have an accident in Europe are near big cities. So there would be rural effects, but there would also be big city effects. And that's why I think a village and a large city are different in terms of community. But that could still be a binding force. So there's a spirit living in Fukushima. We heard that yesterday, and I think it's clear that it's in all of you. Deciding what to do will count on climate and culture. We heard that. There are a lot of aspects that will help people to decide where they're going to go. Each decision, of course, needs to be respected, but it will be driven, hopefully, by an understanding of where you are and what you need. But the future is coming fast. We just talked about the future. And in fact, this is next year. That's something that came out of college sports in the United States, when people, at the end of the season, and you've lost, you say, oh, we'll do better next year. But then somebody always says, wait a minute, this is next year, because the same thing happened last year. So in this case, all the work you've been doing now has been step-by-step, excellent work, and the future is already here. Last year, this was the future. Next year, this will be the past, and the future will be next year. So this is next year. You need to be, the work you're doing is continuing, and it's very well, it's very excellent. Now, I guess I don't really want to have to draw any conclusions, because again, this is an opportunity here, but moving forward, I think, means hope and never giving up, which is, I think, something you all have been extremely good at. Thank you very much for this opportunity.